is whenever that's
5,
Yep,
4,
we're on
3, 2,
6 seconds.
1.
all right. Yep.
All right, welcome to the June 1st meeting of the Planning Commission. Meeting's called to order. You have a copy of the minutes in your packet. Any discussion on those or concerns? Motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second. So second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So moved. Billy, you have anything since you haven't been here for a while? You've been
No.
Tell us about
You
what
guys-
tell us about your trip.
Everything under control.
I saw Liz was.
Timmy, you have anything?
No, I'm good, thanks.
All right, unfinished business. Chad,
Saw
do you have
Liz
anything?
was coming.
No, I don't have anything. No subdivisions this month, no zoning hearings either.
So I guess you're on.
I'm okay. How exciting. So let me switch this and I'll put my presentation up. I won't. It's just a half an hour now. I guess we could make it a half an hour, but I don't have the intentions of making it a half an hour. So the Land Preservation Parks and Recreation Plan is online. I have a couple copies here. If you guys want to peruse through it. Thank you. Would you guys like to look at it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. So we're required to update this plan every 5 years. The last one was done in 2017. And so we're required to do this in order to get our program open space money. If we show that there is a deficit in the amount of recreational lands or open space for our population, then we only get 50% of the program open space funding, and the other half is used for acquisition, so to buy land as open space. But guess what? I found that there's no deficiency in open space and recreational lands in Garrett County. I know, it's unbelievable. Yeah, we were really sweating it. So a lot of this plan has like some things laid out in order to, so we can use these funds in the best ways to maximize them and, you know, to improve recreation opportunities as well as preserve our natural resources. So quick overview of the chapters. Went too far. Too many mice. There we go. So chapter 1 is essentially some background. It's got population and demographic information. Chapter 2 is park and recreation. Honestly, it's like the meat, I think, of the plan. So we updated our recreation inventory, did a level of service analysis based on proximity of where like people were located and where the current parks are, as well as we found that hiking, walking, paddling, boating, and like picnicking were kind of the top activities. So then I took those and seen if there was adequate coverage of those. That was part of the level service analysis we did. Then we did a capital improvement plan, and then we did that addresses the findings that we did with some public outreach that we did. So I did public outreach with each of the towns, did an online survey for county residents, and did a couple of outreach activities. Chapter 3 is looking at natural resources, kind of our sensitive areas that we have in the comp plan, tier mapping. There's a lot of mapping involved in chapter 3. Some discussion of the Deep Creek Lake watershed implementation plan, and some Yock River corridor stuff, as well as the State Lakes Fund. So we have that kind of highlighted in our natural resources. And lastly is agricultural land preservation, and that goes into our programs there. So last summer, I reached out to the towns, organizations, stakeholders, started thinking of like questions I want to ask on the surveys, and took an inventory of the parks and kind of equipment that were at the different facilities. In the fall, we had an online survey, had it up for a couple months, and I've got 706 people responded to it. And then we did some individual outreach in terms of like Mountain Lake Park. I had a public meeting. Accident we didn't do. We had a survey, and only a couple of people responded that they wanted to show up to a meeting, so we skipped on that one. didn't get a chance to meet with Friendsville, but considering next time I hopefully have more than a year to do this, and more than a one-woman show would be great. And then, but we did some outreach with Kitzmiller and also Grantsville. We had like 31 people show up to a public meeting, which I don't know, 31 people showing up, I think it's pretty exciting on like a Tuesday night, you know, that's pretty good in my book. And then so over the winter, we developed the plan, put the maps together, and then sent DNR their a draft of the plan, and we've had it internally for comments, just to make sure we can check all the boxes in terms of compliance, because I really like all 90, like that whole pot of open space money, because I don't think we should be necessarily acquiring land. So anyway, now it's on, the draft is out there for public comments. I've gotten a couple back, but generally it does, like, nothing would prevent me from like keeping the process moving forward, and I'm hoping the commissioners can approve of it, like the plan, before the end of the month, and then we'll be good for 5 years. So that's exciting. So the Parks and Rec chapter, so we've done this plan for like 25 years, and the recreation goals were all the same for 25 years. So I'm like, okay, let's reevaluate. So I did update them. I'm not going to read them to you because you can read, but you know, maximizing your investments, providing like a diverse and inclusive designs on things, promoting what we already have, because I think a lot of times there's a perception that we don't have stuff, but it's all there. It's just people don't know about it, and we can do a better job at letting people know that these facilities exist. And then not having a recreation department in the county, taking a look at that and seeing if there's a better way to oversee the county parks and collectively market our assets, I think is important for us to move forward. So out of like the 706 responses of the survey, we had pretty much adequate recreation. I asked the question, like, do you recreate as often as you want? If it's a 50-50 split. And so half the people said yes, they recreate as often as they want, and the people who said no, it was either a time issue or a lack of facilities, which I'm like, what facilities are you lacking? So a couple of them came up, like in terms of like ice skating rinks, like bigger facilities, I guess, but I don't know, like, I guess it's good economic development opportunity, honestly. And what else? Like maybe an indoor thing in terms of walking for, I'd love to see like a recreation center with like an indoor walking track that's elevated that you could use, you know, 24/7. But the top activities, you could pick all the activities, but 511 people said like hiking, 483 is walking. I don't know really what the difference are. I guess maybe terrain. And then connections, like what would bring you to the parks more often? The top response to that question was like having like connections to the parks, like just making it easy as opposed to driving someplace, which I get. I thought it was interesting. This is like the word map from all the free responses. Like I just kind of dumped them in there. Like some of them were like, what are we lacking? Do you have any ideas? But I think it's like, need more trail. Like, I think that's kind of interesting. There's stuff like, and also kid kind of was highlighted. So, I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting to see. Nice is on there. So, yeah. So we did a proximity analysis. So I kind of did this heat map. This is based on address points. So it's any place that has a physical address, so it's a residence or a commercial business. So I figured that's either people's work or where they live. So that kind of shows where they are located. And then I did some like overlays with, you know, all the public parks, trail access, picnics, and that's all in the maps and stuff in the plan. But my trail maps, I probably need a little more love on, but I calculated over 350 miles of trail in Garrett County. And the county owns over 700 acres of parkland. That includes like Fork Run and like the ball field in Krellin, McHenry's, like the Lions Club Park and that sort of thing. And then between 2017 and 2020, we got over $1 million in program open space funds that we would use to like redevelop and improve our parks. In fact, last year and this year, we also got an additional $1 million each year to improve parks. So I think there's an onslaught of money, and oftentimes people are like, how am I gonna spend this? And I wish I was around doing this last year, so we wouldn't all be scratching our heads. But I think we have a good plan moving forward, so the requests that we're getting right now from the towns and stuff
Can I ask you a question?
are meaningful.
The
Yeah.
new trail that's going down Mossa Road from the college down past the fairgrounds, is that any open space money or what is it?
No, that's rec trails through the state, but they could certainly apply for program open space money.
That's why I was asking that question.
'Cause it came
it's
in
gonna be really
over-
nice.
Well, that, and also they valued engineered it, so there's some things that they could do to make it a little nicer, so.
Cause they're down as far as they came, they're almost up to Double G Ranch, they're up along the side of the fairground, they're across
Yeah.
Barry and Gretchen's house, and then they're down to 219. It's a good 10-foot wide,
Yeah,
they've got the big roller and they're rolling it down, so
nice.
that's gonna help keep some of the college kids off of the
Well,
side.
yeah, and that, and like, yeah, and just
Yeah,
keep
I don't
it
know, I didn't ask
towards,
more if he was gonna allow me to come up on one, I wouldn't think, but this fence that's right on the road there, where they're gonna cross over when they get to Double G, they cross over and the college is gonna keep going, that's something where I thought about open space.
Yeah, I think
They
there's.
didn't finish that, they stopped at Double G, it'd be nice to have it on.
Have it on up, or at least to like the Lions Club Park or something, or make the loop, so. And I don't know, it was really interesting when I talked to people about all the interesting recreational opportunities and all the stuff people are doing. I really wish I had more chance in the document to tell more stories. This is at the Lions Club Park. Since they work with the visually impaired, this is actually a whole textural art installation. I don't know if you guys know about this, but like they actually had, they have like blind campers every year. They do the blind skiing as well as they have this art, and like if you go and you can touch all of it. There's different totems they made out of clay and some other different like artwork that they have installed here, which I think is super cool. It's also a dog park. Let's see here, the new trails at Broadford, they're really innovative. I don't know if you noticed, they have like these caps on the trail that have like a lock on them, and they reverse the bikers direction and the walkers direction every quarter to have even wear of the trail. I'm really curious how this pans out. I don't think it's been done anywhere else, so I think there's really cool stuff going around here.
And where's this?
This is in McHenry off of a Bumblebee Road.
There was a softball
Oh,
field,
okay.
there were art.
Yeah,
yeah.
so like, yeah, they have the
They've
Meshach
done some
running
nice
trails.
things there. I
They
mean, it's
have,
actually
and
turned-
there's a pump track, they just put in, we have a purchase order for a pump track. We have some finalization, in our office with that, but there should be more features and stuff up here. I'm excited, they have a good plan.
So, is any of the stuff that you're doing in terms of the things that probably a lot of people aren't aware of, is the chamber up to speed on?
I think
stuff?
there could be more coordination on that, and like in terms of that economic development and just like us sharing our data. Like now I know this GIS inventory is updated, so it's just a matter of posting online, be like, here, use this, like feed this into your all trails, and like we could create a map and you could filter it based on what you want. So
Yeah, I just, I think that Garrett County has an incredible opportunity right now that they need to take advantage of.
yeah, and it's just a matter of notifying people that these things
Well,
exist.
Yeah,
Right.
of a place to live, because of the fact that now people understand that they can work from anywhere. And, with these kind of things, which, people that do that stuff all the time are looking it up, but other people that potentially would come up here and see all these different things as part of a marketing plan as to why it's a great place to live and raise your family. It'd be nice to see some coordinated effort between everybody to have that kind of stuff more populated into that stuff. I mean, people know about the rivers and they know about the lake, but it seems like more and more people today want to have the other opportunities. And I know they're out there to some degree, but I don't know where to find them.
Exactly, and I totally, yes, so one of the goals in the plan for within the next 5 years is to have some sort of like marketing umbrella for all this, like it's state parks, the town parks and all that, and maybe have some sort of level of coordination in terms of, I wanna use this pavilion, who do I call? Or how much will it cost? And have like that centralized like knowledge base where you can just look it up. Or, you know, like I'm, you know, I'm here in Swanton, where can I
What's
pull
the
over for a
closest cool
picnic?
thing on there?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or I wanna go for a hike, what's the nearest trailhead? Like I would like to be able to share that information for sure. So I think that would be really good. And
Right.
that, and then have a way to, if you would have an event, like if the health department or community action would put something on, or you wouldn't have like some sort of event, have that on that calendar too. So you're saying, oh, the Chautauqua or the Celtic Festival is happening, or let's, you know, down in this park, they were having a whitewater release or whatever. So,
I think, I mean, I'm saying just you put these together, this informational is very informational, this is very well put
Yeah, no,
together.
this is
And I think something like this could be laid on the chamber desk down there with some of the periodicals they give out, because I think a lot of people find this fascinating, they would become more educated about what is available. And it wouldn't cost that, I mean, I don't know what it costs to print this book or what your budget is.
Yeah.
or that, or
Especially
like,
if
or
they're
make a
high
or
cover,
like the
cover,
Reader's
cover.
Digest version
Right.
of it. Really, is what I probably
You
should
know what I'm
do.
saying, at least if it was
Oh, no,
if
especially
it laid there on
if
the
you do
chamber
a
where
high
they come
quality
in.
cover on it, and
Right.
put that, it can almost become like a
A visitor-
coffee table book
Right.
kind of thing for people.
Because I know the visitor's guide been toned down since for a year because of cost, but this is something that, you know, if that's laying at the chambers, on the chamber desk when they come in and people walk in, you know, somebody picks that up, and then they're gonna see, hey, here's your Germany State Park, and here's, you know, cause still the most fascinating thing to me is that right there. 28,250 full-time residents and 1.3 million or 1.4 million visitors.
And that's what's so weird in terms of like trying
Right.
to gauge like how many people are here like, at a given moment. Like what's the population in Gary County on Monday night in, you know, January, or like what is it, you know, after Memorial Day on Saturday? Like it's wildly different. It's probably double.
Well, one thing that COVID did for us, it got a lot of people got their kids outside. You know, these are the recreation part of the New Germanys and the Harrington Manors and the places like that were becoming more viable because people were actually, because our state park made a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah.
And they also, and the state gave a little money, and they were able to spend some money to upgrade some stuff.
Yeah, well,
But-
that, and I think it's important in terms of people know about the state parks, and it's to the point, I don't know, when I lived in Allegheny County, I wouldn't go to Rocky Gap on Saturday because it was just too busy. Like the word was out, and I'm like, I'll go on Wednesday, but I'm not going on Saturday. And I think it's important, and like I know a lot of people now that they don't go to Yellowstone because like there's too much traffic, and that's not like so they've been finding smaller wildlife management areas and stuff. The people who are into, you know, the bigger parks a couple years ago. So I think it's important to kind of spread this out as opposed to like, man, these trails are all worn down, or like I, you know, wanted to not be around people for a minute. So I think we have enough of those, and like you said, just a matter of letting people know.
Yeah, and in my opinion, you know, it's one thing that you're bringing in $1.3 million every year for guests, but what we lack, and I think it's proven out over the last 20 years, our population went up like 150 people between 2000 and 2010. Didn't it drop this time?
Yeah.
So, you know, and what's the prognosis for the next 10 years? It's gonna drop again unless we do something that, you know, tells people like, what a great place to raise my family. And you know, you got the unbelievable robotics program that, didn't they just win the world championship in something? They won something really
Yeah.
major in the last year, because they're having a big celebration on the 23rd. Well, you know, if you're a family concerned with the education of your kid, and you see that, you know, you mark it and say, here, look, Rob Sharps, you know, Garrett County background guy, now the head of T. Rowe Price. I mean, anything's possible in this community, and it's a great place to live and raise your family. And be,
I don't know what's gonna change yet, you know what I'm saying? We
Well,
keep talking about it every year, it's the same
But the
conversation.
only way, I mean, now is the time, if you're ever gonna do it, now's the time to do it. Because it's not so far in the rearview mirror where a lot of those families that have vacation homes and stuff actually stayed here during the whole pandemic. And they got along fine, the other kids zoomed back home. you don't need to have your kids zoom back home. They can go to a school here, save you 40 grand a year on a private school. You can go here. You're gonna get good education. You're gonna have great opportunities. You know.
I agree. It's just- We've talked about that every year I've been here since we,
Well, and now, but I'm saying,
Oh,
that,
yeah.
you know, the county's in a situation where it's got extra money coming in. Now's the time to put a great marketing plan together with a high-end thing that, like, you know, we're glad you come here and visit us, but we'd rather you come here and stay with us.
they did
Actually,
hire.
I'm working on a project, it's called Elevate the Outdoors, it's a joint project between Allegheny and Garrett County. We hired Downstream, Destination by Design to, it's like a three-pronged project, so they're going to do some market analysis, and we want to, like, bring in recreation manufacturers and recreation related businesses, so like granola bars to kayak makers and fly fishing equipment, kind of figure out who those people are, and then target our visitors that are those manufacturers and be like, bring your business here, because you have all these testing grounds. So working on that. So
No, that's what I said. I think they did hire a new CEO at the chamber, right?
I believe
I think
so.
they did. They did a process, then they went through another process of a hiring firm to come in, and I think they did get somebody hired.
Okay,
I know
I'm not
Regina Slater had been the interim, but I think this, like I said, I think you need. I kept talking about that for a long time, but since the effort you put into this shows that you can move that forward, and I think that now, like Bill said, now's the opportunity to move
Oh, for sure.
move that forward.
And would we not have the most actual land in the entire state kind of dedicated to this?
I mean, if we're not, I'd be really surprised who would meet the
That'd be
other
great
side.
to
Close,
know,
yeah.
because that's one other thing, like, there's nowhere else you can go and have.
So
this many
here's like kind
opportunities.
of a graphic of like, we have 1% of our land is water. It's like, I don't know, 64 square miles, like 420,000 acres. But then if you, in land use, it's mostly forest, 68% forest, 21% farm use, 10% like urbanized or developed land, and 1% water, of course. And then I took a look, the Forest Service Office hooked me up with some numbers about who had forest stewardship plans, and let's hear, so 62% of private landowners have forest stewardship plans, so that means their land is being managed and they actually have like an inventory of what kind of tree stands they have. 14% of it is like, what does the little tree mean? I guess so 62% of land is just privately owned, 14% is managed. Then the little sliver there, which I don't have a number on, is the federal, and the 10th one is the state, which is more than 1%. I'm gonna have to update the graphic. Thanks for pointing that out, guys. And then the county is in the blue. And then the other one is just a repeat, but then I have just the forested land, that's 68%. That's the breakdown of management in terms of that. So I think it's kind of interesting to see that. But a lot of our land is, 26% is state forest.
So just from a visual standpoint, when I look at that, the only thing that, if I saw that and I wasn't familiar with Garrett County, the 1% thing with the water would concern me. Is like, I thought they said they had a lake there. I thought they had
Yeah.
what does it make sense in the marketing of that or whatever to combine that in some fashion? Because there's
No, because there's all this other stuff. Like, a lot of times, our marketing really focuses on Deep Creek Lake, and so, that's an opportunity. I agree. So, anyway, those are some fun infographics I made while making the plan. So, the natural resources chapter, like I said, the Deep Creek Lake watershed management plan was not mentioned in the last version, even though it was in existence. So, made a little plug for that. And then lastly, the chapter on agricultural land preservation kind of goes over the MAUF stuff. The fair market value that they offer, it was $36.88 per acre. Last time we had 71 properties and almost 9,000 acres in just the MAUF program. And then for Rural Legacy, about 16,000 acres, and 15 properties seems low to me, Chad.
Probably about right for rural legacy.
That's the same number of about we had in Allegheny County before I left, so. Anyway, that's, so I'm taking comments, and feel free to take a plan. If you wanna scribble on it, leave it on my desk on the 9th, or you might wanna scan your scribbles. I'm gonna combine all of those and then send it to the commissioners, and I'll approve it at their last meeting this month, so.
So what
Anyway,
we need to do today is approve this.
Yeah, if you feel
Process.
okay with it, I think we sent the draft out in March, so you all had a chance to see that. We sent the other final one out, so if you all feel comfortable with it, you
Oh,
would like
your
to recommend.
10% thing.
yeah.
Just need-
Yeah, I don't know what happened there on that 1%, but it's clearly more than 1%, so.
We're gonna let her do the comprehensive plan next time, right?
Yeah.
I would love to, like, I feel like my timing was really bad for that, so.
Yeah,
I'll
so
give
like
her-
the last plan she mentioned, 2017, that it was always a collaborative effort. So the last one would have been about 4 of us worked on it, and none of the other 3 people are here anymore. So I was very nervous, like, how are we ever going to get this done? So when Sierra came, she kind of jumped right in, did
Yeah.
pretty much all this by herself. So I certainly am very thankful for it. And,
Yeah.
you know, her
Well, I
hard
finished
work on it.
up a plan that was 75% done last time I came, like, for Allegheny County. I got the plan, like, it's not done yet, and so I finished that, and I didn't know what it was, or what I was doing. And then, like, I spent 5 years being like, oh, I can make this better.
Well, if we're
Then I
still
come
around,
here
we
and
can
get
do
all
that,
my
right?
contacts taken out, and then having to rebuild that. That's been fun.
And all your public input that you got, was there any underlying theme or just all over the place?
Generally it was like more trails, and also I think it's just a lack of that knowledge or lack of awareness, like having some like that. And also I feel like I'm part of the problem. Like in the past, like everybody would pick up their newspaper and that's where you get your information. Now I feel like it's all disparate. Like I don't even listen to a radio. Sometimes I have a podcast in me, or I wouldn't know what's like going on. Like unless like, or like which social media platform do you prefer versus like, do you actually look at the paper whenever it comes out? Like, I don't know.
Well, a lot of people that come up here with, if knew some of this stuff was available, they wouldn't be walking on Rock Lodge Road or riding a bike on Rock Lodge Road. You know, they could actually go to the trails and ride.
Well, that and like,
Barrington,
yeah, there's like one from the
Wall.
visitor center that goes to like Fort
Right.
Brun. Like, I don't think anybody knows about that.
I get frustrated because they got all those pamphlets in there, and somebody needs to come out and say, "Hey, here's somebody could have said I want to go hiking." So you gotta be able to sell the hiking trail and say, "Here's the hiking trail. You don't need to hike down Rock Lodge Road. You can hike right over to Deep Creek State Park, take a left and go up over the hill, and you can walk for
Yeah.
miles."
Yeah, and so you just wonder if there was some kind of signage thing that had like icons on it that would be at the, you know, in certain locations to just, you know, when people are driving, it would kind of lead you in
Yeah.
that direction. Or something that, where there's an app or something where you could
Well, there is
literally.
an All Trails app, and then there's another one for like dog people, like which places are dog friendly
But
and
what I'm
stuff.
saying is like what he
But
said.
yeah.
It's part of, you know, like if
Be
there's
nice
the
to have
all-in-one
physical,
app,
yeah.
and then when you click on it, it might go to that All Trails app or whatever, but if you were done, then it could come back
That and it's
to
also
the-
nice to have something in physical in the landscape to be like that. Yeah, so I'd love for some sort of overlying theme for all the parks that you know they could tie into, and also.
See, Maryland
some
is so,
ways.
with our signage and stuff, it's pretty tight, how, the best how things are done, 'cause like, you ever go to Cooper's Rock State Park, of all places, great place to go hiking, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
just because there's nothing there. But they have, like, when you go on the trail, they have a trail mark, but then if you're going down the trail, there's this rattlesnake, well, and it sticks out. There might be a rattlesnake on this trail, you know, maybe it didn't have, but just a rattlesnake was all on there.
Especially when you hike the
That's what I'm
rattlesnake
saying, but that's how
trail.
people get in their head. Hey, there's a rattlesnake, you know what I mean? But that sign stuck out to me because that's when you're walking down that trail.
It's
That
kinda
would have been a U-turn here sign.
Very good. Well, thanks for your time.
But I think basically, this is well put together, I
Well,
would say.
thank you.
Thank you for your effort. I mean, that took a lot of effort. And I think we need to, whatever, how you ever wanna coordinate it, to get some of these down to change it, that's fine. You have to get through the process.
Yeah, I think maybe the way to do it would be to find a way to condense it and maybe make it a couple pages.
That can help, if we, you know, finally, if you have somebody that can coordinate between a little bit more, I think that'll help. I think that marketing the trails and marketing the, you know, learning COVID, that people, when they got forced outside, they went outside and they said, "Oh my God, there's a world out here." You know, I mean, not people who used Harrington Manor, you couldn't get a cab in Harrington Manor, or there in Germany, or any of those parks for 3 years. You know,
Yeah,
because,
wow.
yeah, and it was just fascinating, because then all of a sudden you see little kids out running through the woods, you see little kids, you know, playing in the woods, and it just did my heart good to see that, because that means that the state parks are being used and utilized the way they should be getting used. Because I remember growing up, that's where we went. That was our, you know, on a Sunday afternoon when we were kids, we'd go to the state park and hang out at the beach and swim or whatever, or go to Harrington Manor and go fishing or swimming. Yeah, and it's just, that's what we had for recreation. Nobody seemed to, there for a while, the parks were desolate. I mean, there was no use at all hardly. You know, Deep Creek got it because of the beach a little bit, but man, it was,
There's actually some usage data in there. I don't have really good usage data for our municipal, or I get like pavilion rentals. I'm like, that's the number they would keep. So, but at the state parks, I do have like day usage and camping and stuff. They shared that with me for the last couple of years, which is interesting to see how it was kind of steady and then it spiked and stayed up high. So, I know I've been working with Daryl Anthony in terms of what he's trying to do with the Office of Outdoor Recreation. So, he had some good input to the plan. Also made mention of like the off-road recreational vehicles that are in here, and now people can take their off-road motorcycles are included now, and also they increased the distance traveled between places to be 5 miles and not 2, because some people were traveling a little further to get to Wolfden or to St. John's Rock. So that's been updated, and I have to update the plan to include that because that happened midstream. So.
thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Do you have any more concerns about this? I'll take a motion to approve the draft. Motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Yep.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
All opposed? So moved, Jack.
cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you have?
I don't have anything else, so we'll take, I think Sarah has this open for a little while longer if there's any public comments. If it's just minor changes or grammatical things, we'll just make those changes and send it on to commissioners. If there would be something major, we would let you guys know, but if it's just minor comments, if that's okay.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming, especially on a nice day like this. Hard to
Yeah.
go inside when it's nice.
Yep.
Supposed to change tonight or tomorrow. It's supposed to rain a little bit.
Supposed to cool off a little.
Yeah, it's supposed to get back down normal. I saw someplace 97 degrees today, Texas somewhere.
Is that it?
I got it. Oh, I got to
Okay,
sign off.
gotta find it.
Meeting adjourned.